But then I was on the top bunk and the hammer murderer was underneath me and he kept, his radio was on when he passed out because they're all on drugs.
He's going to keep hammering.
So I just took the radio one night and they end the meeting and they're like, we know you're trained, but even the best guys who are trained reveal something. I'm like, ooh, like, wow. Yeah. And it was cool. The good cop during this interview, the good cop.
I love that he's the good cop.
Yeah. He translated something from them. He's like, hey, they asked if you want to take a polygraph. And then he leaned in real close and said, say no. I was like, no. He's like, yeah. He said no. I was like,
Because they would rig it.
Yeah. He knew that. He's like, dude, you didn't do anything, but you're in for it.
Yeah.
So.
Are you thinking like, I'm fucked?
No, because I'm like, there's nothing there. I still didn't know why we even got arrested.
I know, but like, you're in a foreign country. They've decided they don't like you. You know you did nothing wrong.
Yeah, I thought maybe they'd say leave. Because you have to have something. You have to have one thing.
Right.
You have to have one thing.
Allegedly, right?
So I get put back down in a little holding cell. The next day we go to court and we have to make statements. And the lady's like, what were you doing? I'm like, I was at this guy's house. He left, he came back, arrested. I got arrested. She's like, okay, yeah, I don't really see any charges here, but you're an American and there's 4 of you in this thing. You guys are going to go to jail until this gets figured out. I'm like, awesome. Fantastic, right? Like, this is fucking crazy. And in the hallway of the courtroom, I met my lawyer, and he's like, there's a bunch of lawyers trying to represent me. And he's like, hey, Mr. So-and-so, Mr. So-and-so, say hi. I'm like, okay, you're my guy.
Right.
Yeah. And that was kind of a relief because that meant that people knew what was going on with me. Like, my people knew what had happened because, phone off, everything.
Is this the guy from the original meeting who wired the 20 grand?
Yeah.
Okay.
So he's like, this guy knows you're here. I'm like, all right, cool. Roger that. Like, someone has my back. We're good to go. And then like, so they put me in the first observation room and I was in there with a hardcore criminal dude, like career criminal. And there's like a hole in the ground as the toilet, no toothbrush, no shower. You have a spoon, a blanket, and a bowl. And 3 times a day, they wheel a cart with a 5-gallon metal thing and with a ladle. And they go, here's your shit. And you're like, all right. And I did that for 3 days. And they're like, all right. And they put me into...
Did you talk with that guy at all?
Yeah.
Or he didn't speak any English?
A little bit. He's like, what are you doing here? I'm like, oh, I'm American. He's like, you're American? Oh, you'll be out tomorrow. He's like, did you really do nothing? I'm like, yeah, really. I have no idea. He's like, you have a blue passport? I'm like, got a blue passport. He's like, oh, embassy, you're good. I'm like, hey, man, thanks. Like, cool. Thanks, bro. I appreciate that.
He was wrong.
He was super wrong. Yeah. So prison guards, they then take me after. They take him and me, so that was just observation. I guess they keep you there to see where you're going to fit in well. But they put me in a special room. They put me in a room with a guy who murdered his wife with a hammer.
Oh, nice.
A Croatian terrorist. And
Excellent.
A dude who professionally kidnaps people for ransom.
You were on the all-star team.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I walk in and, I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I've seen all the movies. I'm like, all right, I'm ready to, like, stab someone. You know what I mean? Like, here we go.
Put him up.
Yeah. So the guy walks up and he pulls out this shank. And I'm like, oh, shit. And then he reaches across me and grabs a bag of cookies and opens it up. And he's like, here. And I'm like, that's a weird way to open a bag of cookies, bro. Like, you almost had it coming, bro. I was like, holy fuck, dude. And they're like, calm down. You've seen too many movies. And I'm like, holy shit. This is going to be fucking fun, right? And they're like, oh, you're and they turn on the TV, my name, ticker, a stock photo of some operator in like a hat and gear. I'm like, oh my God, really? I thought I was going to be the gray man. Good cop was right. They had my shit.
Everywhere.
And it's weird in that country, being a criminal is like really highly romanticized. It's like cool. It's still like, oh, bad boy, cool, fucking cool shit.
Cool?
Cool. Especially amongst other criminals, like, oh, you're a fucking badass. You're a real deal. Like, It's like prison culture, tough guy shit, like gang shit. And I was like, fuck, so much for keeping a low profile. And when I walk in the halls to go to the cantina, guys would salute me and the prison guards would salute me. I'm like, what?
They'd salute you.
I'm like, what? Because I found out everybody in prison and every like federal employee, they all hate the president. So they believe the headlines, and I was like their messiah. And I'm
They're like, this is our guy.
And I was like, I just kind of rolled with it. I'm like, yeah, it was too bad it didn't work out.
Yeah.
It's fucking crazy. So everyone's like, no, was it dangerous in there? I'm like, not really. Everyone thought I was awesome. They're like, that's weird. I'm like, I know. It's really weird. It was bizarre. And plus, Serbia is a pretty homogeneous country. Anglo-Saxon, white, Orthodox church. And so there's not like, you're this color, I'm that color. Not that should make anyone want to fight each other. I think it's ridiculous. But there's just all, and it's a small country. And when you're in there, it's us versus them, us being everyone behind bars and them being the system, right? So now's not the time to start being violent, go to court, and you're like, your lawyer's trying to say you're an angel and you just stabbed a dude in the neck, right? So it's like, let's all be chill.
But you're still not having any problems with guys being like, oh, was he in Kosovo? Or stuff like that?
Some of the old guards were, but I'm like, bro, do you think I was 15 flying a fighter pilot? Do you know how old I am?
Yeah.
Fucking idiot. Yeah. It's 99. I graduated high school in 02. Like,
fuck off and open up the bar.
Yeah. Stupid. So I was in that special room, which sucked because we only had 30 minutes a day on the walk outside.
Oh, you're 23 and a half down.
With a guy who hammer murderer, his wife, right?
Was he a nice guy, though, at least?
He's super nice. He's a great guy. Yeah.
Did he do it?
Oh, 100%. 100%. Apparently, when he was living with his mom, and like his mom's got crystal balls and she's a witch or whatever, and they went to the house to investigate. In the whole house, there was not one piece of DNA or fingerprint on the entire house, like bleached, clean head to toe. Whoa. She's like, "Oh yeah, I just did a cleaning. That's just how I roll." Okay. So I'm in that room, and it's like these guys are staying up super late, giving each other tattoos with like fucking razor blades and broken pens, and I'm like, dude, they're like, oh, Foka, yeah. So they called me Foka, Foka, because I don't think the newspaper knows that SEAL is an acronym, so they just called me SEAL, like the animal, and Foka means like the animal seal in Serbian. Right. Like, oh, Foka, you need to get a tattoo. I'm like, I'm not getting a fucking prison tattoo with a razor blade. Get the fuck out of here. But then I was on the top bunk, and the hammer murderer was underneath me, and his radio was on when he had passed out because they're all on drugs.
He's gonna keep hammering.
So I just took the radio one night and I just spiked it, and I found out later that like it takes 6 months to get a radio approved.
Oh, wrong guy to do that with.
No, I would have fucking destroyed him.
Oh, you would have.
Oh yeah. So I bounced it on the ground, and then
hammer or no hammer.
No hammer. I don't need that. He can have 2 hammers. It's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're confident. That's good. Yeah.
So I spike his radio, and the next day I'm out of the room. Thank God. So now I got brought into another room that gets 2 hours a day on the walk.
There you go.
With all the other inmates. Because when I was with that first room with the 3 other guys, the hammer murderer and his crew, our 30-minute walks was just us. So like it was like really daunting being in that fucking room.
Are you outside? Like actually?
It's weird. It's weird. It's a big rectangle outside, and the walls are made up of the prison that are really high. So there's never like direct sunlight, but you can see the sky.
Right.
Yeah. So I got put into a room with like a junkie, a Canadian Aussie who just got wrapped up for a massive cocaine deal by Interpol, and then a dude who's a state-sponsored killer who runs the whole block.
Like, state-sponsored killer?
Yeah. Like,
what does that mean?
Like he kills people in the state by order of the state. Unofficially.
Oh, okay. Got it.
And I'm like, oh, this guy's a serious deal. And then we were kind of like, why would they put us together? And like, we're like checking for microphones and shit. But he was cool. He ran the prison. And, that was probably at 2 months in. And 3 months in was when embassy started coming. And embassy was of no help. The guy was terrified. He's like, oh, how's the food? I'm like, it's shitty. Can you change it? He's like, no. I'm like, well, quit asking. Like, they didn't do anything. Like, oh, the newspapers, they're looking pretty bad against you. I'm like, what? Shut up, dude. It's worse than National Enquirer. Like, do you even believe American news? Like, come on, bro.
I'm surprised. I know you're not actively in the teams at this point, but I'm surprised it was like that low touch point from that, like just a basic embassy guy coming. Like this is kind of a big deal. You're being accused of bullshit.
Yeah.
Of like trying to kill a president. Like this is a geopolitical nightmare. You would think they're like sending the fucking Secretary of State there.
I think people were interested. So in April, we went to a small trial. Court made statements again. She goes, I don't see any reason to charge you. You're free to go. Awesome. Been here 3 months. Learned some chess.
Good vacation.
Easy day.
Yeah.
Go back. And as soon as I get to my cell room, I start packing up my shit into a black trash bag. That's the luggage of prison.
Right.
And the guard's like, Foca, advocate, lawyer. And I'm like, yeah, I know. I grabbed my bag. He's like, no, leave it. Okay, so I go to my lawyer. He's like, yeah, when you left, she got a call. And they said you will be charged with something. I'm like, get the fuck. He's like, yeah. I'm like, how? What are we talking? Another month? He's like, I'm like, another 6 months? He's like, I'm like, bro, we're going to be here a year? He's like, dude, I don't know. I know in the end it's going to be okay, but it's going to be a long fucking time, so settle in. I was like, Jesus motherfucker, Christ. Dude.
Now it's got to set in a little bit.
That's when I was like, okay, I live here now. When April hit and I thought I was free to go, and then my lawyer's like, you're going to be here a long fucking time. I was like, okay, this is my home.
2019?
I think so. 2018, okay. I don't remember.
The pandemic's not happening.
No.
Right, okay.
So I'm like, this is my home. And then just the doldrums of fucking being in prison and fucking seeing guys come and go. And they're like, yeah, I beat the shit out of this kid. I beat him to death, but the camera didn't catch it all. I'm free. I'm like, I didn't do it. How did you come in and you're out and I haven't fucking done anything? But this is fucking crazy. Like I'm happy the kid's free. Maybe he should be, I don't know, but I'm jealous, right? I was like, God damn, dude. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to get in great shape. I'm going to learn Serbian. I'm going to get good at chess. And I'm going to make the best of this time, right?
Did you learn Serbian?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So learned some Serbian and finally, so legally they're supposed to charge me within 6 months of arresting me. They charged me at month 11.
They did charge you.
After holding me for 11 months, they charged me.
Now, during this whole time, before we get to the charges, are you constantly worried about like someone wearing a wire around you or shit like that? No.
Record me. What am I going to say that's incriminating?
I mean, but the thing is, you could say like, hey, I'm coming over for dinner at 6. Mm-hmm. You know, let's have some spaghetti, and it sounds like it's code for something. You know what I mean? Like people can make wires sound however they want.
Yeah. I mean, yes and no, but like.
You weren't that worried?
No. Okay. No.
You don't seem like a worrier.
No, I'm at 0. I don't care.
Pat's over here like, God damn.
So I get charged, and my lawyer brings me in. He tells me, dude, you got charged. I'm like, good. Because it's an event, right? It means something's going to have to start happening.
Right.
I'm like, what are the charges? Like owning and distributing firearms and explosives. I'm like, what? Fine, whatever, right? Cool. He's like, yeah, they have your DNA on the gun. I'm like, how?
No.
Well, they took a couple swabs. I'm like, well, tell them they didn't touch it. He's like, well, that's not going to fly because in Serbia, DNA is king. DNA, you're done. Here in the States, like, there's transferable, like that's a piece, but it's not the end all be all here in the States because they know that's not how DNA works.
Right.
But he's like, dude, there's DNA. So we have to come up with a reason that he showed it to you, you touched it. I'm like, okay, fine. Whatever we've got to do to satisfy the DNA, fine. Even though they took enough cotton swabs, they could put DNA in a fucking tank right now.
Right.
Like, I'm like, fine. I'm like, who's our judge? Couldn't get a judge for another month because no judge wanted the case. Because you have this political pressure that even the president was like, oh, he wasn't here to shoot fish in the Danube River with that gun. I didn't have a gun. What are you talking about? So there's that. There's this pressure that I'm this bad guy. And then there's the pressure of people doing their jobs as a judge because there's no jury there. It's just a judge, one person. And they have to look at the facts. So if they do their job, look at the facts. There's nothing to even keep me there another day. But it looks bad after all the shit that was talked about me.
Is it an elected judge, though? Or is it
I don't know how they're...
Because I would think, this is like a political kind of, you know how that works. Yeah. And there could be pressure, but.
So we finally got a judge. And my lawyer calls me in again. You got a judge? I'm like, yes, He's like, no, bad. I'm like, why is this bad? Come on. It's a woman. I'm like, who fucking cares? He's like, yeah, but women aren't good for men crimes. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, there's a gun involved. I'm like, bro, it's kind of sexist, but like I'm just happy we have a judge, but sure. Right. I was like, whatever. And then trial starts in January. So I got arrested in January. My first day of court is in the following January. And the way court works there is because they're so backed up on everything. You go in and you do, I have to get transported, and I get transported in my own little paddy wagon with MP5s on either side of me. Like they put on a show when they transfer me back and forth and walk me in the courtroom.
They put you in the Bane mask.
I was ready to be Hannibal Lecter, bro. I was like, really, guys?
I was raised in the darkness.
Exactly. The nighttime is dark for me. It was for everybody, bud. So, and they're like, the guards are like kung fu gripping me for like a year. Every time they move me around, they're like, oh, this guy's the most, newspapers saying I'm the most dangerous man that's ever even been in the country and all this crazy shit. And we go make opening statements. So you make opening statements and then you leave and you come back a month and then you do the next part and the next part.
You wait a month after opening statement?
And then they do examination and then a month cross-examination and then a month evidence and then a month. Like that's how the court works there. It's not like you start court 12 days later, it's over. It's boom, leave, boom. Okay. So we show up and opening statements, horrible translator. I'm just like, what? Yeah, I don't fucking know. I don't know what's going on. I'm beyond like disbelief that this is even happening still. And I've been in prison now for 12 months. I've been for a year.
Yeah.
So I like, you can't be nervous or scared that long. You just don't give a fuck anymore. Like, this is fucking stupid. Opening statements go down, go back to prison. Everyone's like, how'd it go? I'm like, I don't know. And then go back the second or third time when they're like, oh yeah, the translator's not here. Go back, come back in a month. I'm like, motherfuck, dude. So we go through everything. We finally get to the last court date. And then like, okay, we're going to do verdict the following week. Don't have to wait a month, just a week for the verdict.
It's the last court date, basically closing arguments?
Yep. Okay. Closing arguments, and then 7 days from there is going to be verdict. Okay, go in. I'm ready. I'm looking at 12 years or some crazy shit. Wow. Or something crazy, right? All right. I guess I'll go. At least I'll go to the prison where I can go run and work out outside. I'm like planning my life, right? So we all have to stand up and like, you three guys, and you're a drug dealer and blah, 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 blah. And then, Daniel stand up. And of course, on this day, I get the worst translator I've ever had during this whole process. And I'm like, what the fuck is she saying? Like, come on. And she's like, oh, you're free to go. I'm like, well, you don't have to look so fucking surprised. Right? Like, yeah. But I was really nervous. I'm like, I need to know under what terms, because I was ready for them. Me and my lawyer were like, they might do guilty, time served, to go home. And I didn't want that.
You didn't want that?
I didn't want to be guilty, time served. I wanted to be acquitted because I didn't do anything.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. But like, if they're like, you can get the fuck out of here. It's Serbia. Who the fuck? You have a criminal record in Serbia. Who cares?
Yeah, right. I don't know. I like it there. I definitely want to go back.
Thank you for watching the video, guys. If you haven't already subscribed, please smash that subscribe button and check out this clip's full podcast episode by clicking here or in the description below.